Earthgang, Ghetto Gods. So yeah,
Mm,
I was put up on this record. Shout out to DJ Paperboy. He was like, "Listen, man, y'all ain't talking about Earthgang because we was talking about Dreamville last week." And he was like,
mhm.
"Nah, the Dreamville mixtape is cool. But you got to check out that Earthgang album." And so I checked it out and really, really gave it a listen. Man, listen,
Yeah.
I don't want to overreact, and I never want to overreact. And I did this when the Tyler album came out. I hit Coop up like, "Yo, this is fire," and I did the same thing with this. And I think that this is possibly album of the year
Uh,
so far. I mean, because so far, what album of the year we had Benny in the running for it. Ghetto Gods is better than Benny's album.
I mean, I think things have kind of tapered off. So if we can kind of, I'm pretty certain. I mean, here's the thing. So, Currency's album with Alchemist Continuance,
Okay.
Benny's album with Alchemist, Tanner Talk 4, Conway's album, God Don't Make Mistakes. I think those three albums probably stood out the most this year so far. When did that Saba drop? Did that Saba drop technically last year, or was that
No, that was
earlier?
this year. That was this year.
So I
Shout
think
out to
that's
Nas the Goat for the super chat. He said Neck and Wrist was trash. Earthgang album is phenomenal. Nas' performance was some mid, and Lupe 100 Chicago's in amazing. 100 Chicago. We're gonna get to all of those things, and you know y'all might want to choose your words carefully because Jay-Z's definitely watching the show. Either that or Leroy Green. I think Leroy Green is, you know, whoever Leroy Green really is converting these messages to Jay. But we're gonna talk about Neck and Wrist, and I don't think it was submit. I actually like the song. I think the verses and the we'll get all that. Go ahead.
where was I?
I think you were talking about Ghetto Gods, right? No, you were talking about the albums that have come out so far. You said Currency and Alchemist, all the stuff that's in the album of the year running.
Yeah, so those would be the three albums that stick out. Then the Saba kind of comes to mind, and the Gunna comes to mind, and that would kind of round out the top five of the year so far
Mm-hmm.
for me. I'm gonna slide Benny's album down a little bit more too, because like you and I said, I told you I rated it that high because I wanted to have the ability to slide it down instead of sliding it up.
Yeah.
So unlike replay value and how it was gonna hold, how is it holding, Mike? It's not holding as well as we maybe would have hoped. So I'm probably going to slide it down, which kind of would put it in the range of Currency and Conway's album. And this album's better than that. Earthgang's album is better than all of those albums, in my opinion, too. So
I think what Earthgang showed me with this project is the fact that, you know, I know a lot of people are coming out with lots of material at a really rapid pace. I think this showed that you can really take your time with an effort and come out within the confines of, you know, the pace that people come out with and have an enormous amount of content. What I mean, like, as far as depth to your music, musicality, lyricism, that's easier to do in a group. You know, honestly, ask Andre 3000. You know, it's easier to do in a group, but it's still a phenomenal feat. And this era to make an album that is this conceptualized, for lack of a better term. Very impressive effort.
I
It's
think
a,
they
you know, it kind of puts me in a, musically, I would say, and I don't like comparing people to other people, but musically on some Outkast, Organized Noise type of foundation musically, and with the chords and the choruses and things of that nature, subject matter as well, flow wise and delivery wise, more of a field mob type of thing, and came together to be very, very dope.
I'm gonna extend off of that a little bit more, Mike, and
Go
tell you
ahead.
that my thought after listening to the album the first time was actually, or man, what are these guys 20 years ago to be the link in the chain between the Dungeon family and the new Atlanta that we were about to hear. Because what I heard and what makes this record so beautiful to me is that I hear old Atlanta and the new Atlanta meshed wonderfully. And the transition that happened down here musically, that was not a smooth transition. This group would have been the smooth transition of that because you can hear the organized noise,
Mm-hmm.
Outkast, PA,
Yeah.
Goody influence, but you can hear the field mob. The Future,
Yep.
the Thugs,
Future's on there. And
Future.
I think they did a really good job of meshing, like you said, meshing all of those worlds together.
Hey,
They have
you,
records that could be played anywhere. The versatility of the album is really impressive. Shout out to Blue Collar Hustle with the super chat. He says, if you think Nas' performance was the mid, then find God. But yeah, the versatility on this album was extremely impressive. You know, JID is continuously growing as an individual. I was listening to Stick from the Dreamville mixtape, and I'm like, this is what Kendrick used to do.
he's
Did Cole find him a new Kendrick out here? Cole got a roster, man.
he's a problem.
Cole got a roster.
JID is a problem.
Yeah.
Problem. Like, you want to? How about this? JID is performing at a level of what we're hearing right now. It's like, oh, well, Cole needs to be performing at that top 3 level that I said he was performing at, the way that kid's rapping. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, he's reinvigorated because he has that around him. You know what I'm saying? He has like that. I don't want to say young energy, but just that new energy around him, and some hungry MCs and hungry artists who are inspiring. I mean, you gotta hear what Earthgang is doing and while they're creating and be inspired. You know what? I wish that, and I know we hold J. Cole high for not doing features, at least some of his fans do, because I honestly don't. I think that's overblown. I wish he worked more with his crew on his efforts, because his crew is phenomenal. Like,
so, so I don't want to throw any shade because he's having a moment. Like the Earthgang project is great. Cole is still overall having a moment. Showed his ass on this album as well. That verse, along with CeeLo's verse, those are verse of the year contenders already. Okay,
straight up.
So straight up. So what I would submit though, can we get his project this diversified with him spitting the way we've been hearing him spit the last year and a half? Like, can we get a project diversified like this from him, with him spitting at the level that he's spitting at? Because that's really the only thing that's missing.
You know what? Well, I mean, we've always said this on this podcast, I believe, and I've heard this in other podcasts, I believe, or other publications, but hip hop classic albums, they're a team effort. And even if you look at Akumenai and the way that Akumenai was put together, that was a team effort. That was a Dungeon Family collective. Clearly, it was an Outkast album, but that was a Dungeon Family collective effort. Same thing with Supreme Clientele. That was a Wu-Tang collective effort. Sure, Ghostface was the star of it, but that was a collective effort. We could say the same thing about Good Kid, Mad City to a degree. All hands was on deck, all eyes on me type of thing, yada yada, etc. I think that if J. Cole were to utilize his crew in those ways, we would get that kind of output that you are expecting. Because if you got a group like Earthgang that's making a project like this, and you got somebody like JID who, his projects have been pretty dope too. Boz, you got, Ari Lennox. These people know music, and they know it very well, and they can execute very well. So, I mean, I think that what we're expecting from J. Cole and his ability to collaborate at this level, we're expecting I don't want to say a collaborative effort, but an all hands on deck with the talented people we have around him for his individual effort, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
No, and so what I would say is that when he raps like this, okay, so his best album doesn't rank high enough in the canon for what he is displaying talent-wise. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And I just want an album that's reflective of that, because I want you, and listen to what I'm saying. Like, oh, he's rapping beyond like Forest Hills, like the last couple of years.
Oh, straight up.
He's like he's beyond that guy, and it's like, well, I want to hear the project that's reflective of that, because where is Forest Hills? Where would Forest Hills rank all time as a rap album? That's his best album, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a top 25 rap album, though, is it?
No, it's not. And I think that easily the way he's rhyming and the way that I'm hearing music from his crew and all that, he can easily surpass Forest Hill Drive. It's not one of those, yeah, that's an untouchable effort. I think
Right.
Kendrick is more in that lane of I think we've heard the best from Kendrick, and not to
Yeah.
get on him. But Blue Collar Hustle with another super chat. He said it's insane that Dreamville has snatched the crew crown from TDE so thoroughly. They have overshadowed every other crew so much. It's worthy of a Coop rant. I mean, they have, and they've done it through consistency and work.
They've been steady at it, you know. And I mean, to piggyback off what Royce was talking about, it's like, you know, executive wise, look at how J. Cole's artists are succeeding and thriving on a multitude of levels. It's like, what you want? You want a mixtape? You want an album? You want some singing? You want some bars? Like, what you want? He got them ready to go.
Billy Barr says that J. Cole's verse on Johnny P's Caddy is verse of the year. You know, and with that
It's,
being said, with the right effort in place, and not to take anything away from Earthgang and what they just did with this album, because again, I think it's in the clear for album of the year for me. This is a wide open lane for J. Cole to basically take this MC of the year thing for 2022. He has a really good chance. He's starting out the gate very well. I'll put it that way.
there are two guys lurking in the shadows.
Well, people saying Griselda still got it when it comes to crew.
I mean, they got Benny and Conway, and I mean, okay, so let's so let's go ahead and parse this down a little bit. So, is Stove part of Griselda now?
I would say Stove is.
So you got Stove, Benny, Conway, Love, Jay Skis, Armani,
Armani, yeah. That's tough.
Flea.
Yeah, that's tough. But like I said, Earthgang just made this thing interesting if we want to talk about projects.
38 Speech. Now, and that's where they made it interesting because this project, man, this
Because if we
project
talk
was
about individual MCs, yeah, you can say Griselda or whatever, and they put out a whole lot of stuff. Because like you said, you just mentioned, you mentioned a lot of guys that put out a lot of work.
Right. Well, I mean, here's where Griselda has it. It's like, well, who has Conway, Benny, and Stove? Like, who's third person is Stove?
Darnell Lee with the super chat. He says Cole needs Quincy Jones and Hit Boy to make a classic. Go through 900 songs to find the perfect 10 like MJ. That's asking for a whole lot.
That's disrespectful a little bit too.
That's asking for a whole lot. Let's get back to Ghetto Gods because we got a lot to get into today, man.
Right.
What were some of your favorite songs on this album?
That was one of the beautiful things about it, Mike. I had to listen to it over and over again, and I still couldn't decide like what I preferred. That was the best part about listening to the project. I was going to ask you what your favorites were because I was having trouble deciding.
Well, when I was listening to it today, I kind of had that Armani Caesar feeling where it was like I was listening to the album, and next thing I knew, it was over, and I was like, I'm at the end already. Did something skip? It's just that good. It flows very well together, and I think that's another thing that we're missing in, the current streaming era of music. People aren't putting together projects with that type of mentality, like I want this thing to flow together like that, and I haven't heard that in a minute. And this one really flows together extremely well. Off top, though,
yeah,
I would say Power. I would also say the song before was an American Horror Story. Yeah. Yeah, but see, I still like some of the bangers too.
Like I was about to say, I like Water Boys, I like Black Pearls, but the records that you named, American Horror Story, Power, that's what I mean. It's like, well, there's a little bit of something, everything on here.
Yeah, it's something for everybody on here, and it flows so well. Nothing sounds forced. Yeah, nothing sounds forced or out of place. It all flows.
And what's crazy about it not sounding forced, that's what I mean. It's like, well, what do you want them to do? Because they're doing a little bit of everything.
All right, now one thing I will say, if there is a critique, and it is what it is. I think that some of the stuff that their approach could be regional, and so maybe not a lot of people are maybe there might be a segment that aren't feeling the way we're feeling about the project. And again, I might be a
Cool.
little bit biased because, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, so I get it. I understand everything they're saying. I understand the slang, the approach, all of that. The sentiment. So maybe I'm holding it higher than others may. But that's the only thing I could say. I think they maxed out on this one. I'm going 4.5 on this.
So am I. I mean, I was actually thinking going a little bit higher because
Yeah.
if I mean,
This is
I
the one
didn't.
thing, too, I will say, as far as like going higher. I hear dope lyricism. I don't hear elite lyricism. If that, you know.
Yep.
Because again, if we want to compare, and I hate doing this, but it's like Outkast or Cool and I, if we want to talk about putting together something to a grandiose level, Andre 3000's lyricism on there was elite. Big
So is
Boy's
my
lyricism on there was elite. So I don't know if there were quotables like that. It was dope lyricism. I'm not, saying that it wasn't, but I don't know if it was elite lyricism.
Okay. What they are is more versatile dope than lyrically dope. Okay.
Yeah.
Their versatile their versatility is a lot of their dopeness as MCs. So I agree with you on that. But here was actually, and I'm glad you brought up Outkast because what my takeaway also was that well, if Outkast would have dropped this album, we would all be saying it's album of the year, and that's why it's the album of the year up to this point. Because if you were to tag another duo's name on this album right now that had more notoriety, we would be calling it album of the year. Like if
Shout out
Outkast made an album,
Shout out to Jar from Rap Roundtable. He's in the chat right now. He says Mike D is wilding. 4.5, 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, look, we're gonna have Jar on the show next Friday, and I know we got a whole lot to talk about because I heard y'all podcast and y'all were talking about the Biggie thing, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that today since Jay-Z addressed that in the verse. But we stand on opposite sides of this. You know what? I was listening to Rap Roundtable's podcast earlier. Go check it out on YouTube. They were saying that Jay-Z's verse on this Neck and Wrist song is verse of the year type stuff. I disagree with that. I'm sure we're going to debate that, next Friday because they were going crazy over it. It's a good verse. But verse of the year, I don't think it is better than the Cole verse from Johnny P's Caddy. I don't think it's better than the CeeLo verse from Power on this album.
we can unpack all of that.
We'll
Here's
unpack
what
all.
I will say: this is the first verse I think Jay has done since Ghost of Soldier Slim that really deserves to be unpacked and discussed. And so that too is noteworthy because it's him. And so we're going to unpack and talk about that too in relationship to how we feel about the verse. Yeah.
We're going to get to that song. But first, let's get to the Schoolboy Q song, Soccer Dad.
Hold on. So we're done. We're cool with the 4.5 though, right?
I'm cool with the 4.5. I mean, I'm sure people will let us know what they think about it. But, I mean, I think it's fair. Like I said, the only thing that would take them over to the next level is a little bit more elite lyricism and maybe a couple of songs cut here and there towards the end. I would have ended it with Power.
The ending is not as strong as the beginning and the middle for certain, but those songs are still dope too, Mike. Like even those songs at the end, like still solid records. I mean,
we're judging them on the level of the other songs.
Like I'm about to say, there's some classic rap albums that have ended a little weaker than that.
Chronic 2001 is one of those albums where it's like, man, it should have been cut off at a certain point.
Yeah.